Just speaking about myself, when I was a younger person, in my teens and living in Chicago, I didn't have any kids and I had very little responsibility, although I had probably more responsibility than most. Well, not most, but some people because of my life circumstances. We all have life circumstances. This isn't a feel sorry session. Everybody has life circumstances. And let me start off by saying it like this. If you think your life circumstances are any different than any average person's life circumstances, because there are some people who have life circumstances, but they already have solutions set up around them. So, so because of the solutions set up for their life circumstances, they really don't have any life circumstances. It's kind of one of the reasons why I'm driven to do what I'm driven, which is help people understand. Everyone has them, but the solutions are already there for all of it. Average folks just don't think that they can afford it. But I digress. You get to a place, at least when I was a kid and became older, you find out that wait a minute, there's no difference between me and anybody else, regardless of degree, power, whatever. There ain't no difference. This isn't something I figured out in my 50s and 40s. This is something I had figured out in my 30s. You're no different than me, and I'm no different from you. Well, there are many differences, but one of the only differences is the mistakes that we make, or the chances that we take, or something like that. But we're all born with some sort of strike that we all grow and have certain disadvantages in one way or the other. Uh, and, I'm on this trip right now talking about mental illness because it was so prevalent in my family. I really hope that people catch the messages in these messages, because some people are dealing with mental illness and don't know it. And I can give you some signs if you would believe me. You may not believe me. But a constant focus on yourself is a mental illness. Constantly thinking that you're the only one with the answers is a mental illness. We have examples. If you're constantly losing and you're constantly blaming somebody else, you need to do. Mental illness isn't this huge thing that no one deals with except for the few. Mental illness is something that a lot of people deal with and don't want to admit it, that they just see it wrong. I got news for you. I sometimes see things wrong. But my foundation is the Bible. So I have to keep running back to the Word of God, breaking it down, making sure I don't misunderstand the part that I'm trying to get to. But for the most part, none of us are any different than anybody else. Some people are scared to admit what's going through their mind, and they understand their challenges, but they don't want to tell anybody because they think their feelings will get hurt. So let me be the first. When I was young, I had an experience with a young man who came to my house, laid on top of me, and so I've had the gay experience. I had a man that tried to turn me into something that I wasn't. I have blown other people's money thinking I knew what I was doing. I've apologized, but I've made some massive mistakes with the women in my life. Massive. I was not a nice guy in my 20s, 30s. Yeah, 20s and 30s, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. I kind of got it once I was In fact, sometimes I even have flashbacks and it bothers me. I've made so many mistakes. I am a flawed human. I am not perfect. Uh, some people don't like me and it's justified. Some people don't like me and it ain't justified. I'm no different than you, but you're no different than me. So I don't really need people to feel sorry for me. What I do need is people to find value in who I am. And then don't treat me less than you because you're no different. There you you can think you're different because of how much money you make, the car you drive, or the house you live in, or the friends you have, or the associations you're in, or whatever. But when you close the door, I don't really need to know, because I know and understand that you're no different than me. I don't really need you to feel sorry for me. But if you find value in who I am, and I hope you caught that, you will spend more time multiplying than you will losing. Now, just so that you get the gist of what I'm saying, imagine that this face is somebody else's face that you've rejected. If you found more value in who I am than feeling sorry for. See, people come into your life for, in my opinion, for a combination of three reasons. They're either coming to learn from you, because none of us are accidents. But if you treat anyone like an accident that comes into your life, you lose. You may not feel you lose, but you lose. They either came to learn from you, they might have come to be a friend to you. If the bullet hits your back, it could be because you got rid of the friend that was closest to you. Or if they didn't come to learn from you and they're not the friend, they might have been the other person that you really need that you don't think you need, because you might think you're the smarter person in the room in comparison to that person. They might have came to teach you something. Now, if you're dependent upon your degrees, and because you know the president and all these other external things, then you might have just missed the donkey that could have helped you elevate, because you're so smart. See, we don't need to feel sorry for any of us. What we need to do, and I do specify need to do, is look at people with the eyes of God and play your role in their life. Get over all your little personal feelings of intimidation, or you're greater than that person or whatever, and actually have conversations with people who are not like you. Your feelings could be hurt. You can have that discussion with that person. The breakdown in the descendants of American slaves is not what we call white people. There are no such thing as white people. It's not the Europeans. It's your inability, or you have the ability, so I take that back. It's your unwillingness to value the people that God brings around you. You think you're smart enough to think that you're just rejecting somebody and you have that option. You're rejecting what God is bringing to you. If I can't help a person, I at least direct them in the right to the right place for them to be helped. If somebody comes to me and they come to me in their mental illness, their physical illness, their spiritual illness, I don't look at them and say, "Oh shit, you're just not worth it. I can't stand you. And I don't want to help you. Go away." I don't absorb them as a personal affront on my lifestyle, my character, my morality, my friends. I certainly don't go into other rooms having conversations about how they're not worthy of my relationship. And then you think you represent God. Now, I don't need you to feel sorry for me. You don't need to be felt sorry for. But if we're talking about representing the creator of all things, you know, there's a thing that I do with my clients. I haven't had a whole bunch of clients, so I'm not trying to make it sound like it's something greater than it is. And some of my clients were my clients, and they didn't, they thought they were doing me a favor. And I'm not talking about recently. I'm talking about over the years, because they don't welcome in the talent. I remember working for this European brother and his sister and his wife, and I put together a system for them, and then I went out into the streets and I knocked on doors and that sort of thing. And he flat told me about myself and kicked me out. I thought it was weird. I certainly didn't look down on myself, because I know I was in full service with the right heart towards him. I felt bad for him. Some of us are paying too much attention. Anyway, I'll get on the soapbox, and I'm going to get off this soapbox. But the bottom line is, until we start treating one another, you listen, until you understand the value in different people who think differently from you, yeah. Let me finish with this. In ancient times, the rabbis who got together and sat around a fire or whatever, I've actually transcended into one of these things in my past when I was deep into meditation. And they sit around the fire, they smoke the pipe and that sort of thing, and they have these conversations, and they don't like everything that comes out of each other's mouth, but they still value each other. Where is that right now between the descendants of American slaves? When did it get to a place where you can throw people away? They don't go anywhere. They're still there.